I make a special appeal to social media companies and media outlets. Please deal with the misinformation and disinformation that's on your shows. It has to stop.
Sense in me, you will never stop the free. Thinking that's gonna shut you down. Post the truth and go to town. Sense in me, kick me off of every platform. I'll just go to get a gab and rumble. Now you can't stop me. I think we all see it, but cannot believe it. The glint in our eyes as we look at the sky to see that it's falling and people are calling. I think we all know that the end is nigh. But how can it be? The people is me. I posted a tweet and it got deleted. Don't look at me like I'm conceited. If you conceded, then tell me why you stuck on the YouTube, then on the Facebook, calling it meta. We fed it the cheese, I mean fed it with cheese. They wanna release all of your data to screw up your piece. They censor me, then take liberty. Don't even let me post up with the need. Album to blast, they gonna ban that. Take it off, genius, you can't even read the lyrics of Brandon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages from all across the world. You are now tuned into the Chandler Brief, your favorite show for entertainment and news, where of course the dress code is business casual. How is everybody doing? It is a beautiful Wednesday here in Georgia. In fact, it is Wednesday, March 9th, 2022. And it is 3 p.m. sharp, as we do every weekday, or as many weekdays as we can. This is our daily show, The Chandler Brief. We have a multitude of topics we're going to be jumping into, as you guys know we do. If you're a regular, let me know in the chat that you're here. Let me know you can hear me. Shout out to our folks over on Getter, here on Rumble, watching on Facebook. We got some people on Facebook, I know we do. And of course, my very loyal audience here on YouTube, of which we have recently migrated channels. So if you're new around here and you came from the previous channel, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We're at 800 subscribers currently. We're slowly but surely working our way up to 1,000, and I'd love to start getting there real soon. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, smash that like button, and let's just get started with the show right about at the 40 mark. Let's do it now. Japan Orchestra has now dumped Tchaikovsky's 1812 Russian victory piece to protest the Ukrainian war. The Chubu Philharmonic Orchestra has announced that it will replace Russian composer Pyotr Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture with another piece in a concert to be held in central Japan later this month, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine and global condemnation of the attack. Yes, in order to support the war effort and stand by the very strong and virtuous people of Ukraine, which have zero corruption and zero issues going on within their country that could perhaps lead to anything happening. We will, of course, be dumping Tchaikovsky from the playbook. Yes, this is a serious thing that's happening. Now, of course, it's only starting... there you go, Rebecca. It's only starting with an 1812 piece, and that's probably all that was included in this, but it's only a matter of time. Now, this comes after a very long wave of different things being dropped, simply due to the fact of being a Russian. We've heard of Russian vodka being thrown out from bars, them renaming dishes and renaming drinks to get rid of the name Moscow instead. This actually happened in Atlanta. They had like a Moscow drink, and they changed it to the Atlanta something. I don't even know what the second part was, but they were just erasing Russian culture from different things, banning imports from Russia, which isn't the worst thing, but you know, banning Russian oil as a reactionary thing instead of promoting your own economy is not a great move from the President of the United States. Among many other things, we have seen that there's a growing, and as somebody so aptly put it, that I didn't even really recognize it, but it's a growing xenophobia, right? I mean, we've heard over and over again these different phobias and different names and words we can throw at different groups to sort of say, oh, well, this is what you're doing. If you are a Trump supporter, you're racist. If you support, if you're pro-life, you're anti-woman, you're misogynistic, I think that's what it applies, or at the very least, anti-bodily autonomy, which is, you know, hypocritical in and of itself because there's a body within your body, and that body loses its autonomy when you kill it. But you know what? That's besides the point. We're not jumping into abortion today. All these different hypocritical things, you really have to wonder, why can't we throw it right back at them, right? So, of course, if all these people are going against Russians simply for being Russians, there's a growing stigma against people having Russian accents. I'm sure there's going to be studies about this in a few months. All these different stigmas that are coming against people simply for being born the way they are, just like the other ways. Why can't we call it xenophobia? I mean, by the textbook definition, that is exactly what it is, right? I don't know. I wanted to kick off today's stories by bringing to you that one. Just a quick little hit on what's happening in Russia. Let's dig a little bit deeper, though, because I want to know more about what's going on. The professional orchestra based in Komaki, Aichi Prefecture, were performed in the city on March 26th. It decided to drop the classical piece because it was composed to celebrate the Russian victory over Napoleon's invading army in 1812. Nothing to do with Ukraine whatsoever, but simply the phrase Russian victory, or the idea Russian victory, is unacceptable. According to the Chubu Philharmonic Orchestra's administrative office, it also decided to cut the overture because the local high school band they were to perform the piece with could not practice enough after extracurricular activities were suspended during COVID-19. In place of 1812, a popular orchestral piece, which even included cannons going off in some performances, the orchestra will perform Finlandia, an 1899 symphonic poem by Finnish composer. We stand with Ukraine by following the example of this piece, which is a wish for the freedom and independence of Finland, then under Russian. Oh, isn't that funny? Then under Russian rule. They also will add a different piece by Tchaikovsky, Trepak, from the Nutcracker ballet. So it's not going all the way. Tchaikovsky isn't being completely canceled, but 1812 is being taken out of the piece. And it's only a matter of time, right? Especially with things going even deeper and further, and Tchaikovsky being a Russian person. I would not be surprised, but I guess you could say, Chandler, Tchaikovsky's not being boycotted, just 1812. Well, if it isn't happening now, it's going to happen soon, right? I've made some pretty apt predictions here on this channel, and I wanted to bring that one to your attention to get your thoughts. I want to give a big shout out to our current Hall of Heroes, and actually, I need to do a live update because somebody donated after the stream, and I've told you guys, even if you donate when we're not on stream, you will be added. So I want to give a big shout out to Carol, who is joining the Hall of Heroes this afternoon with us today. So I'm going to add her name right now. If you guys aren't sure what the Hall of Heroes is, that's the names that are right above me. Your name gets added to the stream if you want to, of course, for donating to support our channel. So Carol is added for $10. Big thank you to Carol. And of course, our high, St. June, who is our month high. This number resets every week, as well as when people add their names. But this one is a monthly high number. So if you want to beat St. June, I don't know if it's going to happen, but you'll have to donate more than that amount. So donate $101 and you will beat St. June. But of course, that's all up to you. If you're interested in supporting our channel, all those options and links are available in the description below at donorbox.org/support-Chandler. Let's jump back into some more stories though, because man, oh man, does this Russia-Ukraine madness just keep going on. What's going on, J-Hoops? Nice to see you over on Rumble. Nice to see you. I remember you used to tune in on Twitch, so nice to see you again. This story, though, regarding Russia and Ukraine, goes a little bit past culture. Now, the House Republican caucus, or no, I think Mitch McConnell, either way, it's some interesting stuff happening in the Republican Congress right now. They're saying that they want to give $14 billion to protect the border of Ukraine. Let's just tune into this, and we'll read a tweet in a second. Let's just hear what this is about.
Well, let me start by saying if I were the majority leader, we'd be on the Ukraine supplemental. Right now,
turn this up a little bit for y'all.
It's been challenging to get our Democratic colleagues to do what I believe the Ukrainians need at this particular point. But where we've ended up is at $14 billion. In order to get to $14 billion, we actually had to prevent House Democrats from blocking loan guarantees to help Eastern
what is he even saying?
NATO allies buy American aircraft.
It just shows you how simply out of touch these people are with the rest of the American people. So this comes just a few years after Republicans refused to pass $4 billion for the border wall to protect the border of America because it was too expensive. Call your GOP representative now and ask why they care more about Ukrainians than you and your own children. Because yes, that is Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, because clearly they lost out on basically everything from that, saying that they want to send $14 billion to Ukraine for their border. With Republicans like these, we don't deserve to have a Republican Party. Embarrassing. Now, actually, I disagree. We deserve to have a Republican Party. If you're going to vote for them like this, you get what you vote for, as Kamala Harris so aptly places things as Every time somebody says something like, oh, this is bad, you get what you voted for, right? You get what you voted for. This goes just a little bit further, though, as it seems to always, because now we're connecting things to the gas prices. Now, I want to take a step back to 2019. RNC Research, although unfortunately under the Republican Party brand, is doing a lot better work than Mitch McConnell basically ever has, because they're bringing up some receipts. In July 2019, CNN's Dana Bash asked Biden, would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration? No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated. Check this out.
Thank you.
It's a little loud. Let me turn it down a little bit.
Mr. Vice President, just to clarify, would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those, any fossil fuel.
Thank you, Mr.
Some guy yelling at the end. It's probably another candidate saying we can't do that. I don't know. It was a long time ago. I remember watching these Democratic debates, but dang, Biden. But when I saw Biden on that debate stage, not at one point did I think he would get anywhere near where he is now. It's truly a surprise. Like, honestly, I didn't think it could happen, but here we are. Man, this connects all to his failed policies, though. His failed policies, of which he's blaming on Vladimir Putin, saying it's the Ukrainian-Russo war that is causing all these issues. It's him that is hiking up the gas prices. Here's a great opinion piece from a conservative, or I should say a Republican House representative, who says Biden must confront his failed policies that have led to our energy crisis. It's an opinion piece, of course. The views expressed by contributors are their own. But I wanted to highlight this a little bit and give you guys an idea of what's going on. The Biden administration refuses to take the blame for their self-inflicted energy crisis. While gas prices have steadily risen for over a year, Biden wants Americans to believe that, rather than his own failed policies, it's conflict on the other side of the planet causing your gas prices to rise. Certainly, the invasion in Ukraine is causing further hardship, but the energy crisis goes much further back. In fact, most of our crises, energy, crime, border security, and others, can all be traced back to January 20th, 2021. Biden took the oath of office and immediately began dismantling everything President Trump did, regardless of the potential harm to the American people. As a result, prices on just about everything have risen every month of the Biden presidency. Biden's had countless opportunities to turn back from his anti-Trump strategy and reinstitute successful policies, but he refuses. At this point, all I can assume is that it's intentional. Biden is intentionally destroying the American way of life in an attempt to force a radical shift to Green New Deal policies that will overturn nearly every aspect of our lives. And this is 100% true. In fact, Joe Biden's own Secretary of Energy, who is some lady, I don't care to remember her name, but it's a lady we were talking about yesterday, said that we are going to be undergoing a green transition. These are their words, a green transition. Pete Buttigieg, I'm trying, guys. I really am trying. At least I didn't call him booty butt. I just did. Anyways, these people who are in his cabinet have a lot of power are the ones talking about we need to transition away from gas vehicles, transition away from a coal, fuel, and oil-based economy. Get rid of those dusty, rusty fossil fuels and move on to solar and wind, which have their own pollutants and kill animals, but I guess we're not supposed to talk about that. But don't you dare say anything about nuclear energy. No, 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 no. But anyways, get rid of your gas car and go out and buy a $40,000 electronic vehicle, of which comes from things that are also rising in price. Not rising in value, but rising in price. For instance, nickel, which, as we talked about yesterday, has doubled in price and has hit $100,000 a metric ton. What are we supposed to do, right? And James Amadei says, and our eyesores. Really true. Really true. Such lies. Gee, what do you do when you want the world to hate a leader that will not conform to your new world order? Well, I don't know. It seems like every single time we try to come out to support a leader that doesn't conform to the new world order, they get lambasted. But then when we try to talk to these people that are running the government right now, like this amazing opinion piece did, which we may jump into a little bit more later, the press secretary will lie to you. She says the Biden administration is not slowing down on domestic oil drilling. Something seems a little fishy.
Stop the cap.
Let's jump into this. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki Monday sought to dispute claims that Biden administration's policies are preventing domestic drilling. Referring to a comment she had made earlier during the White House press briefing that the Biden administration was going to do everything we can to reduce the prices at the pump, Peter Doocy pressed Psaki to clarify why the administration is asking other countries to pump oil instead of producing more at home. When Psaki claimed federal policies are not limiting the supplies of oil and gas domestically, Doocy pointed out that Biden issued an executive order halting new oil production at public plants, basically calling her on her lie to her face. Psaki said 90% of leases are on public lands and that there are more than 9,000 unused drilling permits. And she also said, let me finish. Let's hear from her directly. Nope, not that one. It's going to be this one. Actually, no, not that one either. All right, let's just check on this article then. Is now halted gas. Let's check this one. Let's unmute.
Let me finish.
An executive order his
Peter,
first week that halted new oil and gas.
Let me give you the facts
Boom.
here, and I know that can be inconvenient, but I think they're
Facts.
important in this moment. To the contrary, we have been clear that in the short term, supply must keep up with the demand. We are, and here and around the world, will we make the shift to a secure, clean energy future. We are one of the largest producers with a strong domestic
A clean energy future. Those are just the words you love to hear.
oil and gas industry. We have actually produced more oil. It is at record numbers, and we will continue to produce more oil. There are 9,000 approved drilling permits that are not being used. So the suggestion that we are not allowing companies to drill is inaccurate. The suggestion that that is what is hindering or preventing gas prices to come down is inaccurate.
The things they call inaccurate don't quite seem to be that way. Doocy then asked, would President Biden rescind his public order, or his executive order that halts new oil and natural gas leases on public lands? Well, 90% of them have been on private lands. There are 9,000 unused drilling permits, so I suggest you ask the oil companies.
Would President Biden rescind his executive order that halts new oil and natural gas leases on public lands?
Well, 90% of them happen on private lands, as I'm sure you know, and there are 9,000 unused approved drilling permits. So I would suggest you ask the oil companies why they're not using those if there's a desire to drill more.
It's not easy. It's not easy navigating around an administration like this trying to get the job done. The exchange comes after an assertion she made last week that the energy industry is literally sitting on stockpiled leases and permits. Ed Lawrence then told Psaki during last Friday's White House press briefing that he had reached out to President and CEO of the American Petroleum Institute about the 9,000 unused lease permits. Lawrence then said that they say that a lot of policies have been put in place by this administration, including a ban on new development of federal lands and federal waters. They are really hindering American energy development during a critical time. Also, he says the royalty fees increasing on drilling discourages investment. So are there any plans to reverse any of these policies to encourage investment? Jen Psaki's answer? I think he may have avoided your question. I mean, because the fact is that onshore alone, as of the start of this year, the industry had more than 9,000 unused approved permits to drill in the United States, and I didn't hear him speak to that in particular. They then went on to say that more than 37 million acres under lease of the oil and gas industry, nearly 60% are currently non-producing. Whether it's the fees that come behind the investment or all the different things that are coming from the administration, it's very clear to see that the oil companies are trying to do the best they can, but the pipelines cracking down, these different hindrances that come from this administration, it isn't making it easy whatsoever. And that's why we have to ask the administration, what are your plans? What are your plans to get the job done and fix these different issues we're facing that are coming at the gas prices or, for instance, at the inflation numbers? But of course, they're going to lie about that as well, because Jen Psaki is saying that the inflationary numbers are going down month by month, when that is simply not true.
What specifically can you point to that has worked to bring down inflation?
Well, there are a number of steps we've taken. If you compare month to month, we've seen inflationary pressure or inflationary numbers go down month to month.
Then why are things costing more now than they did last month and the month before that and the months to months that she keeps talking about and saying we're going to fix the problems? Gas is at an all-time high. Yes, legitimately an all-time high. You remember the record we were talking about just yesterday that we were waiting to be passed, and I said it'll take about a week to pass maybe? It was passed as we spoke yesterday. In fact, my information was old. The gas prices, the overall gas, the nationwide gas average has struck past the 411 record that was set in July 2008. We are now in an unprecedented crisis that America has not seen in decades, if ever. If ever. And they're telling us that the inflationary numbers are going down? But then, instead of doing anything to fix the problem, the Biden administration is instead looking at the state of Florida, which recently passed a bill, as all these people are saying, the Don't Say Gay bill, but it was really saying, don't teach kids inappropriate things before they at least turn 8 or 9, because it doesn't even go that far past elementary school. It's just kindergarten to 3rd grade. Don't teach them about all these different orientations. That includes the straight orientation. We don't need to teach them about that. Let their parents handle that. Let them go to school. Jen Psaki instead says that it is discriminatory and a form of bullying, and that the Don't Say Gay bill, or as it is more aptly referred to as, I believe it's HB 1573. Don't quote my number, but it's got a House bill number. That's what HB stands for, I believe, in Florida. It has a number. It has a proper name. But they're just calling it the Don't Say Gay bill so that you can have the word gay trending on Twitter. Check this out.
Thanks, Jen. I have 2 questions. First, about the Florida bill that just passed, restricting the speaking about of homosexuality and gender identity up to 3rd grade. And then I have a question about surveillance matters that have been in the news. Regarding the Florida bill, in 1994, when many of us in this room were in school, President Biden actually voted for a much broader restriction that banned federal funds from being used for, quote, the promotion of homosexuality as a positive lifestyle alternative. Why did he do that, and can you describe how his thinking has evolved
That's a good
over
question.
the years?
Well, I think that you have seen the president speak passionately about his view that a bill like this, a bill that would discriminate against families, against kids, put these kids in a position of not getting the support they need at a time where that's exactly what they need, is discriminatory. It's a form of bullying. It is horrific. I mean, the president has spoken to that. In terms of his views and comments from 25 years ago, I think the most important question now is why.
Now it matters if it was 25 years ago, right? But when it was Trump, that's today. Don't vote for him. In fact, impeach him over the words, right?
Why are Florida leaders deciding they need to discriminate against kids who are members of the LGBTQI community? What
Kindergarteners that are members of the LGBTQI2S ++ minus exclamation point question mark community, right? Because that's what the bill, as the journalist asked, is attacking, and I put attacking in heavy quotes because there is no attack. It is simply a defense. As Aaron Behringer so aptly is saying it in the chat, I can't even read it out loud because I just don't want to, but it's true. What is in those books is an attack. This is discriminating against that attack. You can call it discriminatory, you can call it bullying, you can say it's horrific. I can spit it right back at you and say what is happening in these schools is a problem. And that is why Ron DeSantis is doing XYZ. That's why Ron DeSantis is doing what he must to defend the children, to stand up for the youth of tomorrow. Now, whether they become LGBTQI 2 spirit + exclamation point XYZ in the next coming years, that's on them. It's on them and their families. If it's about their families, let their families make the decision, not the government, not the public school system. Because it sure doesn't look like the Florida House of Representatives is passing a bill that authorizes the police to go door to door, ask your family what your sexual orientation is, and then throw you in a truck to drive them to a facility and get that vaccine in their arm. Sorry, I had to make the reference. But apparently it's discriminatory, and it's hunting down the LGBTQI 2 spirit + exclamation point XYZ community. Right? That's what they're trying to tell us. That's what they're trying to tell us. All I know is that there is so much going on. This next story I wanted to bring up to you guys to have a little bit of attention regarding is an interesting one that is coming from Project Veritas. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you guys have not heard much from Project Veritas in the last few months as they've been banned off of every platform. They have received the Trump treatment. They are not on Twitter anymore. They are not on, I believe they received some restrictions on Facebook, have had their YouTube channels censored on many occasions. It's really hard to find their stuff. This next story coming from them is a big one. Before we do that, though, I do want to remind you that our show is, of course, sponsored by MyPillow. So if you're interested in getting your hands on one of these very comfortable pillows while supporting our content and supporting my ability to stream daily for you guys, then make sure you go to mypillow.com and use code CRUMP. I also want to give a big shout out to the people who have donated to support the channel. That is, of course, going through DonorBox and joining our Hall of Heroes. We also, of course, support Cash App donations here as well. So if you use the Cash App, you can just type in my code, $Chandler, capital CR, capital first C as well. You can support our channel with a donation and just specify if you want your name listed or not, and I will appreciate the support. It all goes towards improving our ability to bring content to you here on this channel, as well as our other channels. And speaking of other channels, if you're watching here on YouTube and you want to avoid censorship or anything of that nature, then make sure you watch us over on Rumble in the future as well. You, of course, also have the ability to directly support us through Rumble with a super chat-like donation, so you can do so right over on our Rumble channel there. And of course, getting back to the subject of censorship, some crazy things are happening with Project Veritas. You probably haven't heard much from them in the last few months, but they have not stopped working. In fact, they have a recent bombshell report coming from an author with the New York Times, or a New York Times reporter, who says that the January 6th media coverage was an overreaction, and that the FBI were involved, and that the event was not organized, despite the ongoing narrative. This is big. Let's jump into it. So they, of course, got video of the guy. We probably don't have time to watch the full thing, so I'll just read the article for now. And then if you guys want to see more, let me know down in the comments below. We may do a full story of my reaction to this video. But let's see here. Rosenberg, who covers national security matters for the Times, says on the undercover video that there were a ton of FBI informants among the people who attacked the Capitol. Perhaps this revelation is a break from Rosenberg's reporting on the matter when he characterized the such a notion of FBI informants in the crowd as an reimagining of January 6th. In his own writing, of which we can take a look right here. The next big lies. January 6th was no big deal or a left-wing plot. Those are the things he said. This was not the only time Rosenberg's commentary on Veritas' undercover reporter directly contradicted his own published words. Despite telling a Veritas journalist that January 6th was no big deal, his article says that downplaying the events of the day was the next big lie. Soundbites of Rosenberg published Tuesday show him saying it's not a big deal as the media are making it, because they were making too big a deal. They were making this an organized thing when it wasn't. Veritas founder CEO James O'Keefe revealed that Rosenberg's article titled, what we just read, was written around the same time as he was making a contradictory statement to the Project Veritas undercover reporter. In the video, Rosenberg also revealed that January 6th was fun, a contradiction to his reporting that January 6th was a violent interruption of the transition of power. Rosenberg said, "It was like me and two other colleagues who were outside, and we were just having fun." He even appears to make fun of his New York Times colleagues in one soundbite, saying, "I know I'm supposed to be traumatized, but like, all these colleagues who were in the Capitol building and are like, oh my god, it was so scary." I'm like, screw off. He adds, I'm like, come on, it's not the kind of place I could tell someone to man up, but I kind of want to be like, dude, come on, you were not in any danger. These little dweebs who keep on going about their trauma, stop talking. Wow, he used some foul language. So that's the story for you guys, coming from an author with the New York Times, the New York Times reporter who wrote, talking about the next big lie is that January 6th was no big deal, when he himself says it is no big deal. That's the question. Is any of this stuff a big deal? Is the Ukraine-Russia invasion a big deal? People are dying, but also Russians are being hit at all different cylinders. In fact, just yesterday, or maybe even the day before that, and the days are starting to meld together, McDonald's announced that they're shutting down all their restaurants in Russia. So if you want to get a Big Mac, you're going to have to hope you've got one stuffed in your freezer or something, because you are not getting a brand new Big Mac from McDonald's in Russia. Various companies have banned their operations in Russia, have completely shut down. Now, some are beginning to slowly crawl back because they're like, oh wait, we can't lose out on this much money. Russia is a massive, untapped international market, or untapped as of now because we've shut down our operations there. What's going to happen? Well, we can see what's happening. All these different companies are having to charge more and more for their products. Like, for instance, gas. I want to take just a quick step back, though. Before there was ever any Russian conflict, before there was any massive inflation, and before Joe Biden was in the office of vice president or president, because, fun fact, guys, the times when the gas prices were at the highest they've ever been in American history, Joe Biden was in an office that had the word president in it. Now, in July 2008, he was not elected quite yet, but he was a senator. But by January 2009, he was sworn in, and I'm sure the gas prices were a little bit lower as we started to recover from the crisis a little bit. They were still massively high. He was the vice president then, and we had the slowest economic recovery in American history, as this man right here so eloquently put it just a few decades later. That is President Trump with a rather sexy-looking car, if I do say so myself, and even better-looking gas prices. Yes, that's right, $1.29 a gallon. You guys remember when they used to have like the little fraction here, I guess to represent a portion of a cent? I don't think I see that anymore on most gas price things, because it's not even worth listing the cent now. It's not even worth listing the half cent or so. Now it's all about the cents, because we're at $4.89 and $5 and $6, and yes, in some places $7 a gallon for premium unleaded at least. This is the guy who brought the gas prices at least close back down to this, because this was in 1995 when this was taken, July 1995. A great summer, I'm sure of it. I wasn't alive, but I'm sure it was great. Just about a decade and a half later, though, in 2008 and 9, we saw a travesty, truly, with gas prices at $4.11 as the nationwide average. And I'm sure in some places like California, they were at least at 5 or maybe even 6, although California wasn't as far gone back then, and back then being 2008, as it is now. He brought them back down to 2, and in some places like 180, 190. I saw them myself. Those gas prices were dang low, dirt cheap, amazing. So what can we do except call on him once again? Put the little Trump signal in the sky. You guys have seen the meme with it's like the bat signal, but instead of the bat, it's Trump's face. We need to bring that back and get these gas prices back down to where they belong. But that's just my cut of the situation, and I definitely want to hear yours. So let me know down in the comments below what you think of everything that we talked about here today. I want to give a big thank you to our Hall of Heroes, including St. June, who said he's going to rewatch this from the beginning later on, so shout out to him. All these streams are, of course, available for you to watch later on as well. This is our daily show, The Chandler Brief, and I am very honored to bring it to you guys every day here on YouTube, Rumble, Getter, and Facebook. Expect some more content coming to you guys very soon, as in tomorrow at 3 for our next edition of the Chandler Brief, and also tomorrow at 8 for Crump Live. We did not stream last night due to inclement weather, but you guys will see me once again here tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for the support, and aside from all that, I will catch you next time, free thinkers. Don't forget to spread the virus of intelligence.
Into the light we go.